deep in my soul.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of our podcast, Strong Love Speaks. It's been a while.
I'm Gabriel.
I'm Denise. There's been a break. As the young people would say, life been lifing. But we are so happy to be back with you for this signature episode of Strong Love Speaks. And before I introduce what we're going to be talking about, I just want to let you know that we have a very important event coming up in just about a month's time. On the 6th of June, right here in Barbados at Courtyard by Marriott's, Strong Love Speaks, the podcast, presents to you Uncovered. It's going to be a phenomenal evening. It starts with a dinner, so it's buffet dining, and we move from that right into a different type of seminar session. Not what you would be accustomed to in a seminar, but something that's going to be very, very interactive, very exciting. We're going to have some music, some entertainment, a short film which we are producing for the event. So you're going to see an original short film which goes by the name Uncovered as well. So that's going to lead us really into our interactive discussion for the evening. So it's really going to be phenomenal. And we'll remind you again at the end. But welcome back to Strong Love Speaks.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, yes, but we're glad to be back. We're talking about love in the digital age. Now, if you've been following us on social media, you know that we have been together for a while. We've been married for...
More than a while,
but yeah, we've been married for 41 years. So we have transitioned 4 decades, really. Yeah. I mean, that makes us sound really old, but no. We see it as a privilege. We see it as a blessing to have navigated our relationship through so many different changes, so many different times, and to still feel young, and to still feel in love, and to still feel very relevant. Yeah? But when we started in the 80s, life as we know it today was not as it is now. It wasn't that way back then. And I think we did a live some time ago where our theme was vintage love, and we spend a lot of time looking back. But right now we want to dwell on the present, and we want to also look forward. And when I did my doctoral studies, I looked at the digital age. You know, I looked at how the fact that we're living in the digital age has impacted education, has impacted leadership. And I've done presentations before where I recognize that the fact that we're living in a digital environment has impacted everything that we do. It's impacted worship, it's impacted how we shop, it's impacted how we make friends. So obviously, there has been an impact on our relationships, on our intimate relationships, on our marriages. And certainly as counselors, we have come across these issues being raised by couples that we have seen in the counseling scenario, where they have raised their concerns about, they may not have called it the digital age, but they raised issues that point directly to the digital age. And we're going to be speaking about some of those issues tonight, Gabriel.
Yes, we will be.
Yeah, you wanted to say something?
No, I was just going to say that when you spoke about, in this present age, the way how we do life today is so different.
Yeah.
In relation to even gardening.
That's right.
Whereas before, you would ask someone a question. No, you just have to Google something.
That's right.
And there it is.
Everything is at the drop of a fingertip. Yes. The slide of a finger on a screen. Life is just there.
And I remember so much when we had what we call analog, and now it has changed.
Everything is digital. Yeah. That's right.
So we're looking at digital tonight.
And its impact on relationships, its impact on intimate relationships, its impact on marriage. Now, there's a lot about the internet that I love. I mean, I was introduced to the internet in the 1990s. I remember I was studying at the time, doing one of my postgraduate qualifications, and I absolutely loved it. I love the fact that there was so much knowledge at the drop of a fingertip. Back then, there was dial-up. There was no Wi-Fi, so you had to wait a while to get online. The pages looked different. The interface was different. Everything looked different. And if we had to see those internet pages now, we'd think they look a little primitive. But back then, it was new. It was fresh. And as I said, there was so much that you could just harness, so much information you could harness, and so on. When content creation became more popular, then it wasn't just about going online and consuming things, but it was about having the ability to create your own things and post them online. But when we talk about the internet, we don't want to see the internet as something that is devilish and evil only, because there's a lot of good. Right now, what we're doing and what we're creating is for the internet. So there's a lot of good that can come out of using technology. You might be working in a field where you have to interface with the internet a lot. You may be studying, you may be doing a research, you may have a business, you may be an entrepreneur, and you need to advertise online. You need to create your brand, push your brand out there. There are a lot of content creators pushing their own brand, creating a brand and pushing it because of their passion or interest or money-making ventures in various fields. Even with respect to church and ministry, gifts, artists, whether they draw, paint, do graphics or photography or sing, whatever, they push their brand as well online. So there's a lot of value. But what happens when the internet and time spent on the internet impacts your relationship? I've been doing some reading, I've been doing some research, and I've recognized that it can really erode the intimacy in a relationship. It can cause feelings of jealousy, even because you're spending so much time online. You may be working, you may be doing your research, but it's pulling you away from your marriage. It's pulling you away from your intimate partnership. You're spending inordinate amounts of time online, and as a result, you more or less forget your partner, and you forget to spend quality time together, and that can create resentment coming from that partner towards you. All right, and what happens when that happens? Now, that's only one side of it. We're going to be looking at this from various angles, because there's the good, there's the bad, and we have to learn to balance this great tool that we all have access to. So we're going to be drilling down a little further into love in the digital age. We'll be right back. And we are back. Now we are looking at love in the digital age, and this is the podcast Strong Love Speaks. I'm Denise J. Charles. Yes. So in doing some research and some reading, as I love to do when we have to delve into a topic, I found this word technoference. I thought it was interesting because it's really the bringing together of two words, two ideas: technology interference. Okay, technoference. And the idea is that technology, as useful as it is as a tool, as we said at the start of the show, it can become something that drives a wedge between two people who are together in an intimate relationship, whether that be a husband and wife or a couple who has not yet married, but they're together. It can drive a wedge between the two of you because the nature of technology, especially internet technology, it is pretty. It is dynamic. There are lots of images, there are lots of ideas, there are lots of sounds, there's music, there's movement, there are videos. It's constantly changing, so it's not boring. It's very, very dynamic. And if you're on social media, because people hardly just go on websites anymore. Websites are actually not as popular as they used to be when the internet first started. Yeah. You know, when people went on websites to gather information, people engage mostly with social media, and there are several social media platforms, but obviously there's some that are more popular than others. You know, so you have Twitter, now known as X, you have TikTok, you have Instagram, and Facebook is still fairly popular with certain people, and there are others, of course. But you know, that's where a lot of the human engagement takes place. That's where a lot of the posting and sharing about our lives takes place. And this idea of technoference, Gabriel, really means that you may go online for something. You may go online to read a news item, because news items are also on social media, but something comes across your page and you get distracted and you go somewhere else. Something else shoots up into your algorithm. You see something interesting and you get distracted and you get diverted, and you know your attention span is shorter and shorter because you're viewing lots of very short videos. Because a lot of the videos, when I go to post something, I get a message on Instagram saying if your reel is over 3 minutes, it's not going to go to a new audience. So the emphasis is on keeping things short, keeping them brief, because the idea is to just keep constantly engaging people with more and more information. And if that's how you are living your life daily and you're spending hours online, how do you transition from that type of interaction and interfacing into a live relationship where you have to now spend time with a partner, quality time, having conversation, connecting? Do you understand there's a disconnect between the world on this thing, this technology phone, this tool, and what happens in the home?
The thing about it is, when we think of social media, and as you said earlier, you're looking up one thing, and something pops up.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing about the algorithms is that when you see something, it entices you to see something else.
Yes, along that same line.
So what the algorithms would do, it would bring up something that would interest you again.
Yes.
And the thing about it is that it happens so readily that you do not even realize that you have spent 45 minutes
to an hour,
hour and a half.
Yeah.
Because
it's like a vortex. It's like pulling you in.
Yes, that's what takes place. And sometimes, because of the material that you're interacting with, it makes you so closeted to it that you forget yourself with your relationship.
Exactly. So that's the point we're making, and that's excellent, Gabriel. You actually forget. You spent 4 hours of your evening after work consuming stuff online.
And the only time you spend with your spouse in the relationship is either when you're at the table eating, or if you just ask a question.
That's right. And some people don't even eat together. You know, we make it a rule to eat together most of the time. Most of the time we eat together. We wait on each other and we eat together. But some people don't do that. And you may not even go to bed with your spouse either, because you and your spouse may go to bed at different times.
Yes.
So you don't get a chance to really soak each other up. You don't get a chance to just debrief the day with each other, to spend time connecting, because you're spending so much time online. And that's extremely dangerous. Okay, that's extremely dangerous, because what happens, the more time you spend drifting apart from each other, the more volatile your relationship is becoming. And actually, as you said just now, it is such a slow seduction. It is not something that we're aware is happening. It's not something that we take a lot of deep thought. We don't think about it very deeply.
No,
it's just life happening online. And what is actually happening is that we're drifting further and further apart, because we're not spending quality time together.
And we're not even noticing that
we're
it's
spending
happening.
the time on our phones. We're not noticing that it is happening. And a volatility is introduced into the relationship. And what happens is that it's like a vicious cycle. So because we have spent so little time together, because we're each engrossed in our phones, we kind of lose that intensity that we should have in terms of our interest in each other, because you have to feed a relationship. Okay, a relationship is something that needs to be fed.
Yes.
My husband is a planter. He loves the ground and planting things in the ground, and he would get up early in the morning. Sometimes I would wake up and he's gone. He's out of the bed, because he's wetting things that he's planted. So you have to nurture your plants. You have to pour water and fertilizer and make sure there are no caterpillars and so on eating the broccoli or the cucumbers or whatever. And you have to take care of your garden and tend your garden if you want to reap bounty. And we have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of ourselves if we want to be healthy. We have to take care of our hair. We will have to take care of our, anything if we want to look good and smell good and be good. We've got to take time and groom and nurture.
Yeah.
So you have to take that same approach to your relationship. As we keep saying, relationships and marriages don't go on automatic pilot.
Yeah.
You have to spend time nurturing.
Must be intentional.
Yeah, you have to be intentional. So if you're spending so much time online and you're not nurturing that marriage or that relationship, as I said, you're introducing a volatility into it, and you're growing apart. And then as a result of that, you no longer have that longing for the world in the home. And what you're actually pursuing is the world online.
Mm-hmm.
And as you pursue the world online more and more, you become unhappy and dissatisfied with your relationship because you're not nurturing it. It's not being nurtured by either you or your spouse, because both of you are doing it. Or if one of you is doing it more than the next, the other one might become angry and resentful and bitter and withdraw as well. Mm-hmm. And as a result of you're all not spending time nurturing the relationship, it begins to disintegrate. And you're unhappy and dissatisfied. And what do? You're already unhappy and dissatisfied because you're not getting what you need from your relationship, because you're not putting anything in. You then turn and you escape into the world of the internet. So it's like a vicious cycle. You're disconnected, you go right around, and you pull apart. And you go further and further and further apart because you're escaping now into a fake world, because your real world is not something that you're spending time to nurture.
And you know what I've noticed, Denise? This thing we call the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, and I realize it a lot with men. I'm a man, so I'm going to be telling the men what we do.
Okay.
Some of us have 2 phones.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that we would go to a restaurant, the 2 of us, and I've watched men, something happen on their phone, and they ask their spouse or their girlfriends or their wives for an excuse, and they go aside to deal with whatever is on the phone.
Okay, they're not doing it right there.
They're not doing it right there. So that vortex is working, right? So they have 2 phones. And the thing about it is, one might be a business phone, as we would say as a man, and the other one is the normal phone.
Yeah.
But the algorithms could still fall on the business phone and get you aside. So when I take up the business phone and go one side, it gives my wife the impression, or my spouse the impression, that I'm doing business. Right? So you see how things work?
But really it may not be the type of business that...
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
That she thinks it is. Or it might be the fact that there is something now that is being hidden in the relationship.
That's where I was going. That's where I was going. So when you speak about the volatility of the things that's happening on your tablet, on your phone, on your computer, and you're being drawn into it, all these things happen right next to each other.
It's a very interesting discussion, because the phone is not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
It's a great piece of technology. But if we don't take the time to tend to our relationship, and as we often say, if we're not being intentional, and we don't understand what is happening around us and how technology is changing how we do life, and therefore these are things we have to discuss. We have to set boundaries in place. I have a bad habit, I'll confess. Sometimes I might bring my tablet in the bed because I think my husband is sleeping, so it's okay for me to watch something that I'm still up, I'm not sleeping, so I want to watch something that I've been watching, or I want to read something, or listen to a podcast, or listen to a broadcast or something. I love listening to things as well. So I might do that. But that's not something that I should do regularly, especially if you're up, because that's time that we can be connecting.
Yes,
that's time we can be talking.
Together.
That's time we can be praying. That's time, sometimes, we love to listen to worship music at night, that type of thing. So we have to guard our hearts. We have to create boundaries. But before we get into looking at boundaries, we're going to look at some of the sticky stuff. My husband alluded to some of it just now, but we're going to get a lot deeper as we look at some of the sticky stuff that can impact an intimate relationship and a marriage when it comes to technology and love in the digital age.
We'll be right back.
We'll be right back. And we are back. We have been discussing love in the digital age, and it's a really interesting discussion, one that I'm sure touches all of us, no matter the age, because all of us, whether you're very young, whether you're middle-aged, whether you're more senior, most of us, if not all of us, interact with the internet daily, almost daily, I'm sure. We own phones, and we utilize the technology to communicate, to gather information, some of us to create content. And we are really looking at how does this world that exists online, how does it impact our marriages, our relationships, and how can we, use it more wisely to make our relationships better and not worse. We haven't gotten there yet, but that's where we're headed. So I'm going to ask my husband a question here, and this is something that has come up more than once during the times that I have been counseling people. But we've been working with couples and so on. This question of the phone and privacy. Is there space in a relationship to say, this is my phone, this is my private space, don't go into my phone, don't even try to enter it, you have no rights, it's mine, whether man or woman, is there space for that in a relationship, particularly in a marriage?
I'm going to go straight out and let you know that if you're in a marriage, if you're in a relationship, I don't see the reason to have any secrets. Hence, if there are no secrets, why should I have my phone for my own space, right? That my wife cannot see, my girlfriend cannot see what's in it, right? It shows that I'm hiding something.
Yeah, it would seem to suggest that.
It suggests,
even though
and
some
more,
people might
more
say, I'm not hiding anything. I just want to know that I have my own space. I just want to know that this is mine, and we don't have to share it.
In a relationship, my space is your space, and your space is my space.
Should be.
Right? Because the thing about a relationship is that...
And stick a pin here. We're not talking about confidential information that may be linked to your work.
No.
So we're not talking about that type of thing, all right?
No.
We're talking about regular stuff that would come to your phone.
But that would be that would be understood, because if your phone ring and it is a work colleague, I would answer if you're not available, and I'm not going to pry because there is a relationship. And the thing about a marriage, it carries what we call a covenant.
Yes.
Right? So if I'm in a covenant, it tells me that what I do and what you do, both of us will know.
That's right.
Right? We are not going to separate things from each other, that except it is something that as you were saying, work-wise, that I would not know about, and so on.
Yeah.
But even then, that space should be our space.
That's right. And it is something that we really have to navigate with wisdom, because, as I said, we're not talking about confidential information. No. We're talking about the regular things that we would be exposed to as a couple, or that the individual may be exposed to. It's a principle, really. So I am not looking at it slavishly that I have to bring everything in my phone to you, or that you have to bring everything in your phone to me. It's not to be like a compulsion where I'm demanding, I need to see your phone, or you're demanding, I need to see what's in your phone today, or I need to see who spoke to you today. That's not where we're talking. That's kind of weird. We're not talking about control, but we're talking more about openness and having no fear, because you're not hiding anything, as you said.
Right.
And really, we always start at the top. So even though we know everybody isn't married, that's the ideal in terms of commitment. Because marriage is the highest form of commitment, and between two people who love each other, it is the highest form of commitment. Marriages fail, but marriage is intended to be the highest form of commitment. So when we speak to marriage, then it is understood that those who are not married will still walk in these principles, because that's where you're headed eventually, right? Hopefully that's where you're headed. So you have to still have that understanding, even if you're not married.
It is like a home. We build a home together. And you are telling me, Gabriel, you see this room? That is my room. You must not go into it.
Yeah, because even if I have a room, people talk about a man cave. And I have a study that I love, my space for creating and so on. And even if a man has a man cave or a woman has a special room that she sees as hers, it doesn't mean that they can't enter that space. Because certainly you've spent a lot of time in my study, particularly during COVID. We would be in there every morning, having devotions and sharing and so on before I started my work day. So there's nothing wrong with having individual spaces, but certainly they're not exclusive spaces. They're not spaces that we shut our spouse out of if they need to come in. So yes, the principle is that even though we understand that we can have our own interests, we can have things that we pursue individually. You might, for example, on your phone, you might have lots of sports pages because sometimes you're following Windies cricket or you're following tennis. You're following things that football, I don't follow. I might be reading stuff that you're not interested in. So that's fine. So we're going to have our individual interests. But there is no secret. There's no sense that you can't run to my phone if it rings, or I can't run to yours if it rings, or we don't know each other's passwords to get into the phone if we need to for some reason. All of that is open because it is a reflection of what the relationship should be. Now, if that's not happening,
I was just going to say that.
Then that's a reflection of how that relationship is. So how you deal with technology can really be a reflection of the quality of your relationship. So it's kind of like bidirectional. The relationship impacts how you utilize the technology. The state of the relationship will impact how you use the technology, and at the same time, the technology will impact how you navigate your relationship. So the two are intertwined.
And let me say this. The mere fact that we are not spending the quality time that we should be spending together.
Nurturing the relationship.
And I'm spending it on the phone. You're going to find that the algorithms have recognized what I'm doing. So as a result, I am being fed with things that would further push us away.
That's right.
Unconsciously, it happens. And then I buy into this. And therefore, I wouldn't want you to go into my phone because I am looking at particular things, I'm reading particular things, I am seeing particular things that you should not, I don't want you to see.
So we're going to get very honest and open about those particular things, Gabriel, because you're a man and we want to hear what the guys look for and try to find, especially if there's something missing in their relationship. We're going to be right back. And we are back. Now, I have been on IG and I have seen some interesting reels of some phenomenally looking women, with some excellent body parts, curves and all, wearing next to nothing. Doing some phenomenal things with their bodies and, looking all rosy and sexy and that type of thing. And I'm admiring them as women because their bodies may look good. I would be saying, well, I would never wear that outside my bedroom, But I understand, how the culture is and, everybody wants to be out there. Not everybody, but some people, especially of a certain age group, they want to be out there. They want to show off what they have. As a man, you came across something like that, and there's nothing wrong with, it's there, you see it, you scroll past, you continue, but you pause for an inordinately long time and you digest what you've seen, and because you've digested it, you find it comes back. As you said, the algorithm picks up what you're interested in because you spent some time on it. And you keep getting the feeds, and it's more and more seductive. It's more and more You know, you're seeing more and more maybe body exposure, and I know that there are pages that are dedicated to that type of thing. There are women who, that's all they do online, and because they're there to more or less advertise themselves. Or, yes, I know it's sold as body confidence and all of that today, but it's like, you know, advertising to the world what you have and what you have to offer. And that has become culturally accepted. But you're disconnected from your spouse because y'all not spending time nurturing a relationship, as we said earlier.
Yeah.
And you've come across these pages, and you keep coming across them as a man more and more, and you spend more and more time looking at these women and, you know, drooling over them and so on, maybe fantasizing in your mind about what you'd like to do and so on. How does this impact the marriage? How does this impact the relationship as time goes on and more time is spent?
You know, Denise, when we started talking, we spoke about a vortex.
Yes.
And if I have to think of a vortex, when you get in there, it sucks.
Yeah.
You go further and further. Now, as a young boy, I could remember going to school, and we would have magazines.
Yeah, because magazines were the thing.
Because magazines were the thing. And we would see these girls in swimsuits, full body swimsuits. And we would want to just get and go one side and look at it and giggle and so on. Oh. And it seems as though where men are concerned, that figure, that shape, that body part attracts us. Right? Now, it's amazing that our phones, if we call somebody's name, sometimes, although the phone is off, when we open the phone,
we see the person.
We see the person.
That's right.
So
which means they hear us, and they, you know, we understand what happens with the technology.
He's out there hearing us.
Yeah.
So it's amazing that when we are on the phone and these things turn up as a man, and it entices us, especially if the relationship with our spouse is not where it should be.
Yeah, it's less than desirable.
You're going to find that it's going to draw. We are going to draw ourselves to it.
Yes.
And I'm not going to say it draws us, but we draw ourselves to it.
Yeah.
And as a result, the algorithms now realizes that, hey, he likes this. So I'm going to give him another one.
Feed some more.
And give him another one and take it a little further. And eventually what happens? Pornography comes in.
We move from soft porn to real porn.
To real porn.
You know, because a lot of what we see on Instagram is actually soft porn. It's actually, we don't call it that anymore, but that's what it is. Because when you are seeing the majority of a woman's body, her total buns are hanging on the outside.
Okay.
All of her boobs are hanging on the outside. She's moving in a very salacious, seductive manner.
Yeah.
That is soft pornography.
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
And, you know, you imbibe enough of that, and then as time goes on, that no longer entices you. It no longer interests you because you get tired of it. You've seen enough of it. So you want to see a bit more. You don't want to see the thong going between the butt. You want to see the butt without the thong.
Yeah.
You don't just want to see the little strips across the nipples. You want to see the breast without that. You want to see the full body nakedness. You want to just you don't just want to see her gyrating alone. Maybe you want to see her gyrating with someone else. You know, so it becomes, as you said, it's a vortex.
It's a vortex.
Which you have pushed yourself into. And because you've pushed yourself
and you can't
along,
get out.
now it sucks you in further and further.
And pulls you away from your relationship.
Pulls you even deeper away. And the impact of pornography on a marriage and on a relationship is a whole show by itself.
Yeah.
And we will do a follow-up to this because we're just really skirting the surface in terms of looking at love in the digital age. And we didn't just talk about porn. We started talking about valid reasons why you may need to use the internet. You're at work, you're doing some research, you're studying, and you need to use it. But because you're on it so often and you don't you don't see the damage that it's doing in terms of pulling you further and further away from your spouse, because you're not spending time recharging. So if for example I'm studying and I need to be on the internet for an entire night because I have to get an assignment in, or for an entire week because I'm working on a big project, when that is in and that's finished, then I need to replenish. I need to say, okay, I'm going to at least spend a couple of days away spending so much time, so that I can dedicate some time to replenishing my marriage, replenishing my relationship with because I don't want my spouse to feel left out. I don't want you to feel as if I've forgotten about you and I'm just online all the time. And that can happen. So what I'm saying is that we spoke about it from at that level, and then going down to feeling disconnected from your spouse, and as a result you seek to escape into a fake world. And we've been talking a lot about men, but women have their own form of escape. Now, not that women don't use porn as well, okay, because we know that women get attracted to erotica, and that's a whole other thing, because there are lots of erotic stories online that are really very graphic. And for women, because women love language. Not that women don't like images as well, or video, but women love language, and women may be drawn to erotic stories that are extremely graphic, and which seek to replace the romance and the eroticism which they wish was in their own relationship. It's not there. You know, their man does not talk to them, their husband does not speak to them in a particular way, he doesn't do certain things, he's not romantic, you know, he doesn't approach sex in the way they want him to approach sex. So they try to get this vicariously by reading a story about a woman who's getting what they want. That's how it attracts women, and that's another discussion altogether. But women can be attracted to erotica in the same way that men are attracted to porn. Now, women are also attracted to porn. Women can also get trapped by pornography. There are women who can lust after other women as well. Women can lust after the body that they see another woman have and want it for themselves. You know, they may want to see a woman in a sexual situation because they find it interesting and enticing and so on. They can be drawn in and sucked into the vortex just like men. It's just that we talk about men more because men are more visual than women.
That's right.
And it happens to men easier, but we're not saying it can't happen to women. Okay, so don't get us wrong. But what we're saying is that there are all of these issues out there surrounding your relationship. Which come out of the fact that we live in a digital age. These things aren't going anywhere. They're not going to go away. Women are going to continue to look seductive online. Women are going to continue to disrobe online. They're going to get more and more graphic, I believe, as time goes on. More and more it's going to become culturally acceptable.
The digital age is going to be expanding more and more.
With AI, it's even worse, because right now there are people who are having relationships with AI beings. Beings, as you know, you understand how I'm using the word loosely. They are having a relationship with a bot, with something that isn't real. They're having a romance with somebody that's not real. They may be having phone sex. Understand what I mean when I say phone sex or internet sex with something that isn't actually real, but is artificial intelligence, a bot talking to them. Okay? And that is actually happening. People are choosing this over having a real relationship because the digital life and the digital age has pulled them into this vortex where they don't want to spend time talking to people and learning how to navigate the messiness of life and the messiness of relationships. So they prefer something that isn't real, that is fake, that will do exactly what they want, that will be exactly the spouse or the partner that they wish they had. And that's a whole other type of discussion. So we're not going to stop this episode here. We're going to come back with another episode where we're going to drill a little bit deeper into how artificial intelligence is impacting relationships, and we're going to look directly at pornography as well in that one episode, okay? Because we're not going to go fully into that, but we're just skirting the issue by saying that the impact of porn can be debilitating, and it's not just about its impact on the sex life of the marriage, which it can impact.
We'll look at that.
I have counseled in this area, so I know it can cause erectile dysfunction. It can cause men not to be responsive physically to their partner because they must get off on porn. because they've become trapped by pornography, and pornography is extremely dangerous. It can be extremely debilitating even to younger men, and they're saying actually now that there are more instances of erectile dysfunction among younger populations
between the
because
ages
of the rise of pornography that was
35
not
to 50,
so easily accessible in years gone by. Not that people didn't, as you said, go to magazines and so on, but no, you don't have to find a magazine. You don't have to buy a magazine. It's right there on your phone. So how do we navigate our relationships in light of all of these things that are out there? The pornography, the soft porn, the hard porn, the erotica, the escape mentality, a lot of women escaping, not necessarily with respect to sexual stuff, but creating a persona that's not real, you know, wanting to be a particular person because they want to compare themselves to another woman. They're competing online to look a particular way, to have a certain soft lifestyle, as they say nowadays. You know, they're traveling, they're wearing this, they're wearing that, they're going this place and going that to that restaurant and these high profile events because they want to create this world that is not actually real, but they want to appear this way because it's popular persona, in the online community. And that's also a form of escape. And it can also be debilitating to the person. And when it's debilitating to the person, it's going to impact the relationship inadvertently. You know? So how do we deal with this? How do we navigate this? And how do we ensure that our relationships stay clear of these dangers? How do we set ourselves free in the midst of the digital age when it comes to love? We'll be right back to wrap up by looking at solutions. And we are back. Now, we've been discussing love in the digital age. We looked at some of the serious issues impacting relationships. And what I guess we can say we've come to is the need for us to create boundaries as a couple. We talk a lot about the need to guard our relationship against things like emotional adultery, actual adultery, about creating boundaries with friendships. You know, we talk about the need to have no other best friend of the opposite sex other than our spouse. These are the kinds of things we talk about as a couple. And the same applies to using the internet. You have to be aware first of what's happening out there. Don't be gullible. Don't be naive. Don't just be using your phone and you're not aware of the dangers. You have to understand that even though you love technology and there's a lot of good about technology, that there are also dangers. So be aware. That's the first step. Be aware of what is out there. Be aware that you can't just use a tool that is good without understanding that there are also negatives. That
it's like I love the kitchen, and I love to use my knife.
Yes, you do. You love knives.
I love knives, and I have so many of them. But at the same time, I may be chopping something, and I could chop my hand.
That's right.
So it would cause pain.
That's right.
Right? So we have to be careful. We have to think.
That's right.
At what we are doing, where we are going. And as Denise is saying, my wife is saying, you know, you must see the red flags and don't think that they are not there.
That's right. Don't be gullible. Don't be gullible. Know what the dangers are. Know what the benefits are in terms of technology, but also know the dangers. And you do that by just being aware, reading, engaging with reality. Don't allow the phone to take you away from real life. So that's the second thing. So be aware of the pluses and the negatives. Don't allow the phone to take you away from real life. You might spend time Googling, watching YouTube, going on IG, listening to things, watching TikTok and so on. But don't let that consume so much of your time that you forget that there's a real man or a real woman in your home that you need to connect with.
Therefore,
even, and if you have children as well, you know, create the boundaries with those children. Make sure you spend quality time with your children and teach them and model to them how they should use the internet, because we know children are being sucked into this vortex as well with their overuse and abuse of sites like TikTok. And you don't want your children to become addicted to the internet. It is so easy because they're younger. So you can't tell them anything if you're not modeling the right thing. So this is a whole family approach really in terms of, if for those of you who have young children or children at school, if it's just the two of you, or if your children have flown the coop, then you know what you need to practice as a couple among yourselves.
Actually, I know there are times we would go to a restaurant and we would say, okay, let's put down the phone.
Yeah, let's put the phone down. And we would put the phone down and, face it downwards. Sometimes we need to use it to turn the light on to read the menu because we can't see. Our eyes are really bad. But other than that, sometimes we have to say, okay, let's put the phone down and let's talk.
Let's do us.
Yeah, let's do us. So that is something that we have to apply, not just when we go into restaurants or into public
but
spaces,
even at home.
but even at home. And that really
More
takes
so
discipline for me because I love to be online. I love to be online. I love to create content. So that is something that I have to discipline myself with, and I'm still working on that. But this is something that we're saying to you, and we're being open and vulnerable because
what we're saying to you, we're saying to ourselves.
We're saying to ourselves. So we need to apply the discipline in terms of the time spent and to ensure that we don't allow our relationship to suffer. And as much as I love to be online, I can tell you I love to talk to my husband.
Yes,
I love to talk to him. We have lots of conversations when we're in the car. Sometimes we would park somewhere and talk, or we're just silent in each other's company, soaking each other's company up. We love to go out, as you know, watching us online. We go out weekly. Most weeks we're out. So we love to spend quality time together, and it's important to do things like that and don't allow the internet to rob you of the closeness that you should be developing. Now, when it comes to staying away from certain sites, certain pages, certain types of posts, certain types of feeds, that's a real personal decision you're going to have to make with respect to disciplining yourself. Whether you are single, whether you are married, it's a good practice because you don't want to become addicted to the wrong thing. You don't want to become addicted to pornography. Something that I've seen spoken about by particularly young men, where they said they thought that they had a pornography problem and they admitted it. But then they said they thought that when they got married, that marriage would have been the solution and that they would have gotten over it and that they would have been fine. But they've recognized that even though they were married and they had easy access to sex and a sexual relationship with their partner, they found that they were still being drawn to porn because they were addicted to the dopamine high that comes from pornography. It is something that is unrealistic. It doesn't take the work of a real relationship where you have to learn your spouse and you have to learn your spouse's body. You have to learn your spouse's likes and dislikes. You have to navigate that. You have to adjust your body and your sexual arousal and desire to what she needs so that both of you can be satisfied. There's a whole dance, a whole tango that goes into making love and having a successful love relationship, a successful sexual relationship. There's a lot that goes into it. It's not automatic. That's right. And you don't have that with porn because you are living a fantasy. You are engaging with a fantasy, and that is not healthy. So if you're doing it as a single person, don't think that because you have access to sex now through your wife, that automatically you're going to get over that problem.
No.
So the thing is that even if you're single or you're not with a partner, to disengage from now. Find ways to get yourself out of that addiction from now.
Yes.
Let's stop praying about it. We believe in prayer, and prayer can be a big way of breaking holes over your life. And just stay clear. Engage with healthy things that can help you, things that can push you to the next level, your interests, your hobbies, health and wellness and other kinds of things that you may be interested in. Stay clear so that you can build yourself up, and this is going to in turn impact your relationship for the better. So set those boundaries, be aware of what's going on, and have goals for your relationship as well.
You must.
Just like we would go sometimes and turn the phone down and say, no phone, let's engage, let's talk to each other. Do that at home. Make a pact, make a decision that we're going to spend X amount of time, or this is going to be a day when we just interact with each other. Fast from your phone. People have spoken about that. I've not done it yet, but fast from your phone. Decide, but I'm not going to be online today, or I'm not going to be online for this period because I want to spend some time doing other things. There are times when I decide I'm going to do what they call an analog reset. I bought myself some acrylic markers, do some coloring of rocks. I started doing that. Or I would get my journal where I write I want to do some writing, or I want to do some reading. I still love books, physical books, so I want to revert to doing some of those things, so I don't just become imbalanced where all I'm doing is on the phone. As much as I love digital, I don't want digital to control my life, and you shouldn't either.
And doing things together.
That's right.
Is very important. You know, and my wife and I, you know, sometimes we would just go by the beach and just, you know, watch the ocean. We would walk on the seashore. You know, things like that.
Listen to our
love songs. You know,
reminisce about the past.
Things like that. It draws us closer together, and it is good for the relationship, right? Because you want to have a relationship where you are vulnerable to the other person. You're transparent. You know?
No secrets.
No secrets. And if you're transparent, there will be no secrets.
And if you need to reset, if you found yourself in that space where your phone has taken over your life, where the digital age is impacting you negatively, you don't have to stay there. You know, as we said, you can reset. You know, confess to your partner where you need to. If you've been inordinately on sites that, you know, are drawing you further away, drawing you into pornography, causing you to escape, causing you to disconnect from your spouse, have a conversation. Don't be confrontational. If you suspect your spouse is doing this, if you're the wife and you suspect your husband is doing it, or if you're the female, if you are the male and you suspect your wife is doing something as well that you don't like in terms of being online, let her know. Have that honest conversation in a non-confrontational way. Let each other know how that thing is making you feel. Approach the partner lovingly, but be firm, and let them know, let the individual know, we need to recalibrate our relationship. We need to take it to a new level. We need to do life differently. We need to connect more, and make a plan to do so and stick to it. And if you need to use the internet wisely, use it to watch our podcast. Use it to connect with us, to connect with other quality podcasts, because there are a lot of them out there. There are lots of opportunities for growth and development through reading online as well. So you can read some quality blogs. You can read books if you like that, if you like reading via Kindle and so on. So there are good things that you can do. There are good videos that you can watch. But even though there's good stuff out there, you still need to create boundaries, you know, and set timelines and set goals for your marriage that are away from all of the technology, and so that you get to engage with life in real time, face to face, through conversation, through reading each other's cues and picking up on how each other feels and so on, because you're actually spending time in real life. Everything is not happening online. So we hope that what we've shared with you.
All I have to say is, don't be drawn into that vortex where you cannot have some kind of control of your own self and your relationship.
Excellent, excellent, Gabriel. So we're going to wrap it there, but before we go, we just want to remind you of this event that is coming off on Saturday, June 6th in Barbados at Courtyard by Marriott, sponsored by us, Strong Love Speaks, the podcast. We present to you Uncovered, a phenomenal, we're calling it, relationship experience. It's not your traditional seminar. It starts at 6 p.m. It starts with a buffet dinner, full spread, full buffet dinner. And during that time, we're going to have some entertainment by the lovely Aaliyah, a wonderful, jazzy, smooth vocalist. You're going to enjoy her singing. And then we're going to watch our locally produced original short film by the same name, Uncovered. You're going to want to see that. The trailer will be dropping soon. And after that, we are going to deep dive into a wonderful interactive session. Imagine being at a live podcast where we're right there with you, not just talking to you or at you, but engaging with you, hearing from you, doing some interactive activities. You know, you're going to enjoy it. It's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be different. You're going to get to connect with other couples, with other individuals. It's open to all of you, whether you're single, whether you're married, divorced, it doesn't matter. We invite you all. It's adults only conversation, so keep the children away, and it's only $150 per person. That's your dinner and your seminar all in one. You're going to enjoy it. We want to see you at Uncovered Saturday, June 6th, Courtyard by Marriott, Barbados. We love you.
Bye.
This is Strong Love Speaks. See you next time. Bye-bye.